This mutation is called Sheer Chaos and is being played on Chain of Ascension. We have 3 mutators active. We have Just Die, we have Speed Freaks, and we have Outbreak. As you can see that this is going to be yet again a mutation solo, and it's going to be done with Vorazun. Let's have a look at the Masteries while the player gets set up. We have Dark Pylon range, 30 points into Shadow Guard duration, and 30 points into the Spear for doing Energy Mastery, and we're using Keeper of Shadows, P3 Vorazun. So, let us talk about the mutators a little bit, and then I'm going to talk about some of the strategies that you can use to deal with this mutation. I think a lot of people will not be soloing this mutation, so I'm just going to provide a little bit of tips later on in the cast, because I do know some people will be looking for some tips on how to improve. So, Mutator Just Die will cause enemy units to respawn, Speed Freaks, enemy units will move at the speed of light, and Outbreak means that enemy units will be spawning from all the enemy structures are on the map. So you're going to be talking about infested troopers, infested civilians, and aberrations at the 20-minute mark on this mission. That being said, 20-minute mark is an important number to remember, because at the 20-minute mark, aberrations will start to spawn, and this is where the Outbreak Mutator will start to apply a lot of pressure to players, and a lot of people will find themselves losing the game at around the 20-minute mark, because you will have all these things actually spawning. As you can see, Vorazun over here is using the cloaked wall strategy, so you can build a wall over here, and as long as there are no detectors around, these guys are going to be very, very confused as to why they are unable to get into Vorazun's base. So let us talk about this Outbreak Mutator. So as I mentioned, these units will actually be spawning from enemy structures around the map. So one thing you can do, obviously, in this mission is to all clear the map. So there are a few enemy bases on either side. So if you are able to get a commander who can apply a very high amount of pressure in the early game before the aberrations start to spawn, you can actually clear this map entirely, and that will make it a little bit easier to happen as well, because as soon as that happens, you no longer have the Outbreak Mutator active, and it just no longer spawns any units, to be more precise. It doesn't, the icon will not disappear, but aberration, like no units will spawn from the Outbreak Mutator, and suddenly you have basically Just Die and Speed Freaks. A little bit scary, but definitely much more manageable. And you can see over here, no issues with Vorazun. Like, these units are just stuck over here, and they will not bring detection. So that's very, very convenient. And one thing that is also very convenient to note is that because they do not bring the only reason they do not bring detection is because you are dealing with a ground Terran composition. So over here you can see these Shadow Guards are just slowly swiping away, and ground Bioterran is one of the very few compositions of the game that will not spawn detectors, and the reason for that is because the detector is going to be a Raven. That is the only detector Terran has, and a Raven is considered an aggressive unit because it has Seeker missiles and turrets and point defense drones. So the developers have set it in such a way such that the AI will not bring detectors unless that is actually part of the attack wave composition. So that is why there are no detectors over here. So let us talk a little bit about the strategies you can utilize for this mutation. We already have a Shadow Guard now that are just going to be moving around just to start clearing out some more of these structures and waiting for the next super push to spawn. But let's talk a little bit more about some of the other commanders that can work really well. Vorazun is not only good for solos, it's really... Vorazun P3 is just so good because her pushing power is insane with P3. She has not only her Shadow Guards, but every single time you have a time stop, that time stop starts to snowball if you keep using your Shadow Guards frequently. And that snowballing effect, everything stops on the map for 20 seconds. It allows you to clear a lot of enemy structures around the map. And most of the goals, most of the strategies for this mutation revolve around defending the enemy map and clearing out all the enemy structures on this mission. Now, given the strategy as well as being utilized, there might be a little bit of lag. The mission might get a little bit laggy because these units will not be cleared, but let's see how much my computer can handle before that happens. So I'm going to apologize in advance for that. Other commanders are really good. A commander like Stetman, for example, P2 Stetman, really powerful hero unit. It allows him to clear the enemy structures a lot more easily when you're pushing, and commanders like Zagara as well can sometimes work as well reasonably okay. They will still struggle a little bit, but there will be no commander that will not struggle on this mutation. This is a difficult mutation, so just go into that expecting that you are going to be challenged a little bit with this mutation. If you are playing a free commander, Kerrigan also can work. So P2 Kerrigan has a very nice pushing power with a powerful hero unit, and you also have your Omega Worms, and you can, obviously reinforce your armies very, very effectively as well with that. So there's another Shadow Guard over here that's just holding Amon's champion back just a little bit. Now we have the other attack wave over here, and we have a Shadow Guard that gets used, and the Shadow Guard will slowly start to work their way over here, but you see just a large number of units that are here. Still no detectors for Amon because Amon does not spawn any Ravens with this. Unfortunately, that one Shadow Guard did end up get got behind the wall over here. A few more units will end up getting killed off in the meanwhile. And Vorazun has taken their expansion, and they've put a very nice Dark Pylon over here, cloaking again their expansion. Keeps them very nice and safe away from the enemy units over here. And again, these enemy units want to get in, but very nice positioning here for Vorazun. Keeps them to all these enemy units at bay. And again, Vorazun is getting a few kills here, so this might actually work out really well. But Vorazun right now, their goal is to slowly ramp up, build up their army, and get ready for the first hybrid super pusher spawn. And they have time stop already ready, so they will be spawning I think 8 Shadow Guards with this. But remember, Just Die is active, so it is a little bit more difficult to end up killing off enemy units here. And Vorazun now will start to push Amon's champion forward just a little bit. So yeah, basically it just comes down to defending in the early stage of the game. You will need to defend it during the early stage, so your build orders will be messed up a little bit. So do not follow the build orders directly on Starcraft2coop.com because they will not work. You will lose the game if you try to follow those build orders for pretty much most of the commanders, because you will need to put down static defense in some way, shape, or form, or at least block the enemy units from reaching your base. So you will have to play a slower game, which is somewhat counterintuitive because that is what you do not want to do if your goal is to try and all clear the mission. You really do not want to wait until the 20-minute mark until you're able to clear everything. But that is basically the strategy that has to be utilized for this mutation. And additionally, those of you that are watching, that are subbed to my YouTube channel, will be aware that I am releasing the Mutation Shorts series. And basically what the Mutation Shorts series is just a small 60-second video that just talks about the upcoming weekly mutation and just provides you with a few tips and recommended commanders. My goal for those shorts is to provide 2 paid commanders and 1 free commander, so either Rain or Kerrigan or Artanis, and provide some tips on how to utilize them in the upcoming mutations. So you'll hear a lot of the advice that I'm providing in this gamecast echoed in the weekly mutation shorts video. Overall, the first hybrid supervision spawn has been cleared out, and Vorazun now is getting ready to push into the next area as well. And you can see this pylon is taking a little bit of extra damage. I'm actually not sure how those guys managed to sneak their way through, but apparently they did manage to do that. You can see these Terrans here unable to do anything, and Vorazun now is going to start pushing into the next enemy base, slowly working her way over. And what do we have in production over here? We have the disruption one for the core cells, couple more gateways, few oracles, Shadow Fury coming out as well for the Shadow Guard, or not the Shadow Guard, for the Dark Templars, and we have the attack, air, and armor, the air and ground attack upgrades. And notice how Vorazun is not getting the armor upgrades or the shield upgrades here. Usually you want to go for the attack upgrades, you want to go only for the attack upgrades until you're flowing a lot of extra resources that you can spare your armor and your shield upgrades. I've talked about it at length several times. When you're trying to optimize your play to such tight timings and very, very difficult build orders, like solo missions and solo mutation runs, especially this kind of mutation run where you're playing against a really difficult mutation, every little resource that you have counts. You can see here almost no gas being floated for Vorazun, and Vorazun slowly just clearing away these enemy structures. And again, they are not obligated to clear structures here because they are using the cloaked wall strategy, but it is very easy that, you might have a Raven that just randomly moves into position, or you might have a Raven that gets spawned with an attack wave, or you have something that you're not expecting, and you will lose the game because of that, because Speed Freaks just gives you no time to react. So it's always good to just cover all your bases and clear all the enemy structures on the map when you have it available. We have Time Stop and we have Deploy Shadow Guard available for Vorazun. Vorazun just slowly picking away here, and now there's another attack wave that has spawned. There's a very nice black hole here to catch one of the attack waves. That was a harass wave that will be going up towards Janara and Amon's champion. Vorazun wants to go in and just deal with this thing first. So again, not really too much of an issue. Look how fast that Slate Elemental moves. You have to be a little bit careful with the Slate Elemental as well. This attack wave will end up walking up over here, and I do not know if the siege tanks have enough range, but yeah, if there's a very high chance that like if the siege tanks just get into a certain particular position, they may be able to reach that dark pylon and actually take out the dark pylon there. So again, things like that you just do not want, you know, just a random enemy unit slowly sneaking by here. So Vorazun has brought her entire army back, and now she has a Shadow Fury onto her Shadow Guard. She also has Blink, so she's just going to end up cutting down these enemy units. And she also has used the Pulsar Beam ability on the Oracles to just clear out these enemy units here. I think Vorazun is pretty much good to go here. There's a little bit of a congregation of enemy units over here, but this will end up getting cleared out as well sometime soon. But yeah, Vorazun is ready to push into the next Hybrid Super Pusher spawn. And like I said, aberrations will start to spawn. I do not know if Vorazun actually manages to do an all clear of this mission, but it is not too far-fetched to assume that they could do an all clear if they wanted to do so. The basic goal is to just try and make sure all their bases are covered and they are safe, and there's no chance just some random enemy detector comes in and just ruins their day. Now obviously this is a Mutation solo, so it was done on one of the arcade maps, and obviously as well you may not have the luxury if you were playing on the random queue, or I do not know why you'd want to do this on the random queue, but you know, 2 of the other 3 enemy races will bring detectors. You will have Overseers and Observers in Zerg and Protoss attack waves, so that doesn't work. Actually, funnily enough, Shir Chaos, the first time I played Shir Chaos, I did it on the random queue. I queued up with an Artanis ally, I believe, and I did lose a few times. I think it took me about 2.5 hours to finally do it. I did it on my stream, and it was one of the very first difficult mutations that I was actually able to do on the random queue. I cannot remember what my ally's name was. He was a really good Artanis player. He was solid, and before any of my regular viewers say, "Oh no, you got carried," no, it was not a carry. It was definitely equal amounts of work that was done before my viewers start to troll me. Yeah, Vorazun has cleared up the second Hybrid Super Pusher spawn. Again, skipping out on the bonus objective. You do not want to go in and just lose your entire army because the Slain Elemental decides to spaz out and murder your army. Now Vorazun is going to be moving in here and slowly picking off the rest of these enemies. I think there are a few more enemy structures here. There is another enemy base on the back here that needs to also be cleared. It's going to be a while before Vorazun is able to clear out everything here from Amon's forces. Otherwise in production we have nothing. We have level 3 attack upgrades coming up. We have couple more photon cannons on the way. So I think what Vorazun has done here is just putting down a few photon cannons just to clean up these enemy units here. There's no reason not to do it. Vorazun's already floating a few minerals, so you know, why not do it and just clear out some of the more of these random enemy units. As you can see, there's nothing really much they can do here, and these medevacs will also end up getting picked off eventually. So Vorazun is doing really well. Actually, you know what? This Vorazun play is making it look really easy when it's really not. It's like, oh, you just build a cloak wall and everything is fine. There's a lot of timing that is required to get this done properly. There's a lot of tight builds, and it is a lot trickier than it looks. But like I said, if you are playing with an ally, you know, like I said, if you have an ally that's also helping you out, you can probably do the strategy, and doing this cloak wall strategy tends to work pretty well. Especially if you have an ally, you know, helping you that can fill up some of the gaps as well. So yeah, definitely a strategy that you can utilize. So yeah, Vorazun's doing okay. A lot of these guys just lost, wondering what has happened. And here's something else also. There are Infested Medics that spawn with the Outbreak Mutator. I think a lot of people haven't seen these Infested Medics because they end up dying very quickly. But yeah, these things will actually heal up Amon's forces and stuff. And you know, here you go. That is an Infested Medic. So that's another rare unit that you usually do not see in the madness that is usually Outbreak. But yeah, Vorazun doing really well, cleaning up all these enemy units here. And I think Vorazun is just ready to push right now. There are a few more enemy units over here. If Vorazun wants to clean that up, she can as well. Time Stop also ready. And we have Shadow Guard as well, ready for deployment. So Vorazun now, I think we'll use Time Stop. Again, we have a few Shadow Guards over here, and now Vorazun is just going to charge in. And these are the things that are really important. These detectors. These are Ravens, and Vorazun is just picking off these detectors one after the other. And as soon as all the detectors are gone, there is nothing really Amon's forces can do. And there's one more missile turret over here, and finally that missile turret goes down. And I think all is done. Nothing Amon's forces can do now can stop the... Although there's a little bit more detection over there, but finally everything gets cleared out. Very, very clean and easy engage for Vorazun. And this is actually why Vorazun is so good with B3. It's like, not only do you have time stop, and not only do you freeze every single of Amon's units on the map, you also have those extra Dark Templars that are spawning, and the amount of pushing potential that you have. Like, Vorazun's pushing... Vorazun already was a really good commander for pushing into enemy bases and fortifications, and with B3 she just becomes insane. Your Shadow Guard duration is reduced a little bit, but as you can see, we have 30 points in the Shadow Guard duration mastery, and that actually counteracts a lot of the downside of it, because you do have your Shadow Guard for long enough that you can do pretty much anything that you would want with the Shadow Guard. Like, even if you're doing fast expands, or you want to deal with the expansion and then you take out the attack wave that'll be coming subsequent to that, you will have enough time to do that with your Shadow Guard. So that works out really well as well. And yeah, we have another set of Amon's escort waves over here, but these waves are pretty much going to stand no chance against the Shadow Guard here. And like I said, no detection. And Amon will not bring detection on this mission, and I think there's another mission, I think Missed Opportunities. The harass waves that come up to try and take out the bots, they will not have detection. So that is one of the very few missions where if you're dealing with that kind of composition, you can go for mass Dark Templar. No need for anti-air at all, because they will not bring any kind of detection with them. There are a few enemy compositions with that. It just depends on what the tech level is for that particular escort and harass waves that come up. But I think Missed Opportunities is one of those other missions where that can happen. So, you can check out the enemy comps page on Starcraft2Co-op.com. Check out the mission pages on Starcraft2Co-op.com as well to see what the tech levels and strength levels are for each of the missions, if you're curious and trying out the strategy, because it was a lot of fun. Going mass Dark Templar is just so entertaining, and usually what you end up with is just a bunch of medevacs. And here we go. So 20-minute mark has occurred, and we already have aberrations just parked themselves right at the top here. So these are the things that actually cause people to lose. And now we have a nuke over here. This is going to be a problem. So one thing to note is that when the ghost triggers the Just Die, when Just Die triggers on the ghost, he will not stop, it will not cancel the nuke until the ghost is actually killed off. Because Just Die is actually not death of a unit. You will notice that none of the death effects trigger for a unit. So if you have mutators like Self-Destruction, or Mutually Assured Destruction, or Fatal Attraction, or Alien Incubation, or Walking Infested, all those mutators do not proc when Just Die with the enemy unit to respawn, because it's actually not a respawn. It just refills their HP and their shields back to full, and now we have the next Hybrid Super Pusher spawn. But Vorazun has pretty much pounced right on top of that Hybrid Super Pusher spawn using a time stop, and a lot of Dark Templars have spawned over there. Oracles use their Pulsar cannons as well or their Pulsar beams, take out these hybrids. Just see how quickly these hybrids are able to melt over here. And now Vorazun is going to make her way back to an Amon's champion. So Amon's forces are being a little bit annoying. They are harassing Janara just a little bit. Vorazun's already in position. Disruption web down. Really unnecessary use of... Really unnecessary for disruption webs, because these guys cannot really do anything against it. But just see how difficult it is for Vorazun to just cut through those enemy forces here. Vorazun's almost supply cap right now, so doing really, really well. Floating about 1,500 gas, really does not need anything else right now. And yeah, they're going for their shield upgrades. They can go for their shield upgrades, they can go for their armor upgrades if they want to. It's just all cream on the top of the cake, because like Vorazun is not going to be taking any kinds of damage when it comes to pushing into enemy bases, as long as she's using the time stop and as long as she's using her disruption web ability as well. So a few more Dark Templars. Where are they going? Okay, so they want to try and push into this. So these aberrations do actually push Janara's champion Janara back, so you will have to try and harass these aberrations a little bit, and because they have nowhere to go, they will just tend to hang around a little bit. So they'll be a little bit annoying, but like I said, when you're this safe, I don't think you're really concerned about what is going on and what Amon is doing. So these aberrations now are going to end up getting cleared out as well pretty effectively. Now Vorazun is just gonna go and start to push Janara forward as well. And 220 energy being like just floated right now on the Spirit. That is how far ahead Vorazun is. So Vorazun may, use some of the energy for black holes. I'd like to see a few more deploy Shadow Guards just being used, just to, make the time stop to snowball a little bit. You have no better use for the energy. And, they might as well even supply cap on the Dark Templars, but like I said, not too big of an issue. They can get their armor upgrades as well. Armor upgrades not really very impactful, but you know, might as well spend the resources if you have the resources available. We have a little meeting of the aberrations. They are strategizing as to what to do next. So this guy's named Bob, this guy's named James, and they're trying to figure out how to go through this little cloaked wall over here. They haven't yet figured it out. They're waiting for a Raven to spawn at some point. Amon has other ideas. And yeah, there's another escort wave over here, so the escort wave will end up getting cleared out too. Random medevac here, another escort wave coming up, and the escort waves will actually. Sometimes this happens as well. They just skip Janara. They just skip Amon's champion. And Amon's champion is like, "Yo, where are you going? Come back here. Come back here." And yeah, eventually these will get cleaned up as well. A few aberrations as well. We'll stop Janar's from being pushed forward, and now we have a time stop. And this time stop now. Basically, this is one of the issues. This is one of the reasons why I don't like the Shadow Guards from the time stop here. Is they have the Void Stasis ability, which puts these missile turrets in void into a stasis, which is actually not what you want. You want to actually focus down these missile turrets as quickly as possible, so that you're not actually getting wrecked by Amon's forces like this. But this usually happens, and this can cause a few casualties here. Not really too. Oh, that was a very nasty secret missile on top of the Corsairs. A lot of inhumanity on these Corsairs. Corsairs will come back. And I think a lot of these Corsairs now are pretty much one step away from getting one shot, but eventually Vorazun is not really hurting for resources very much. So a few more aberrations over here. I think maybe Vorazun is just waiting for a time stop. There's a recall right now to try and move back and move the Dark Templars over here. So I think what Vorazun wants to do here is just clear out some more of these MUs. There's a nuke coming up here, but that ghost really is not too long for this world. And now there's an attack wave. So you can see there's a little bit of detection over here. And now one science vessel has to be taken out before bad things happen to Vorazun. And Vorazun has done just that. Use the black hole, trap the science vessel to prevent it from using any abilities onto the Dark Templars. And now there's going to be another black hole right on top here to clear out the rest of this attack wave. And just Vorazun's wave deleting abilities, it's just so effective. Vorazun's cloak, absolutely insane. And now Vorazun has to move back here and try and deal with this. So there are a few more photon cannons over here being added just to try and shoo away some more of these things. And there's one random Dark Templar. Dark Templar versus the world of aberrations. They just want to try and clear these things out. And I think yeah, Vorazun is ready to push in. There's gonna be another harass wave over here, but this harass wave is just gonna make a run by with Amon's champion. Finally realized they have to stop back here. And yeah, so these things will get cleared out, and Amon's champion will start to get pushed back into the pit. Again, this one Dark Templar just slowly picking up the aberration. These things have so much HP, by the way. They have 275 HP, and then you have Just Die as well, which doubles the amount of HP, effective HP that these things have. So each one is, you're dealing with more than 500 HP per aberration. There are a lot of aberrations that spawn, so beware the aberrations from the Outbreak Mutator. And now we have the Hybrid Super Pusher spawn. Now this is going to be a bit of a problem. Vorazun is about 30 seconds away from time stop, so Janara is not going to be pushed into the pit anytime soon, but Vorazun will need to rush over here to try and deal with this. So what Vorazun's chosen to do, use the black hole to deal with the harass wave, and then while she's making her way back, time stop is going to recharge and get ready, and by that time she'll be able to use time stop to clear out the rest of these things. So there's a few detectors over here, so these detectors are a bit of an issue, so make sure also you take out these science vessels, because the science vessel will be more than happy to irradiate your Dark Templar army. Few more science vessels over here. Again, this is coming as part of the attack of the Hybrid Super Pusher spawn, but now we have time stop, and now Vorazun is going to get to work slowly picking up these hybrids and picking off the rest of these units. And there are going to be a lot of units over here. So Hybrid Dominator over here. I think all those science vessels were picked up by Vorazun, and there's another black hole here just to trap these hybrids and clear out all the detectors over here. And now finally all the detectors are gone, so now all that is left for Vorazun to just slowly delete the enemy units in that wave here. So yeah, I don't think there are any more science vessels left on the map, because Amon will send science vessels to wherever is necessary. So I don't think there are any science vessels in here. So Vorazun now just using Dark Templars to just cut away at some of these aberrations, because it can lag. Vorazun is not really obligated to clear these aberrations, but if you try and do that for a long time, there are going to be lots of units on the map, and just the Starcraft engine cannot handle it, and it will end up slowing down a lot of even high-end PCs, and you could end up with that legendary Stuka lag. So if you Dark Templars over here poking around, really not necessary to push in. I think Janara is ready to push Amon's Champion into the pit. All is pretty good now. You have some more Dark Templars doing pretty well over here. And yeah, all is good. And yeah, we have pretty much nothing. Although pretty much very standard play here. Very nice play from Vorazun, but very standard. Makes it look really easy when it's really not. Like, really no faults with that. And now Janara is going to succeed and triumph over Amon's Champion. You can see Battlecruiser over here. Again, really nothing the Battlecruiser can do. There are no detectors on the map. So that is really nice. And Amon's Champion now is about to get pooped into a pit. A little bit of a long game, but I think it's nice to show the strategy because that is how powerful Vorazun is. Janara has triumphed over Amon's Champion. Boop! He goes into the pit. And that is GG.